Something is happening behind the scenes with this team, and if you're not paying attention now, you might miss the first signs of a change that could alter everything. What seemed like a simple off-season is quietly turning into a series of calculated decisions, and there's a growing sense that not all the players currently on the roster will still be there when the season starts. The question is, are these moves setting the stage for something bigger, or is there a risk that one wrong decision could completely change the team's course? But first, click the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Let's go. Something is quietly brewing behind the scenes with the San Francisco 49ers, and if you're not paying close attention right now, you might miss the subtle signals that could turn into one of the most intriguing roster decisions of this entire offseason. Because while most fans are locked in on the obvious headlines, there's a deeper layer here, one that could lead to a surprising move that reshapes part of this roster in a way nobody fully expected. Let's start with what has suddenly become one of the most crowded and, at the same time, fascinating position groups on this team: linebacker. Just a few months ago, there were real concerns. Beyond Fred Warner, the room had question marks, uncertainty, and a lack of proven depth. Fast forward to now, and the situation has completely flipped. The 49ers didn't just address the issue, they overloaded it. The biggest headline? The return of Dre Greenlaw. When healthy, we're talking about a top 20 linebacker in the NFL, a tone setter, and someone who, alongside Warner, forms one of the most dominant duos we've seen in recent years. This isn't just about depth, it's about restoring a defensive identity that defined this team in 2022 and 2023. And if both stay on the field, you could be looking at one of the best linebacker tandems in the entire league again. But it doesn't stop there. San Francisco continued stacking options. They brought back Luke Gifford, a key special teams contributor who got a solid deal for his role. They added Garrett Wallow, who already proved he can step in under pressure. Remember, during that playoff stretch against the Eagles, the team was digging deep into its linebacker depth chart, and Wallow delivered meaningful snaps. Then there's Milo Eifler, more of a depth piece, but still another body in a now crowded room. And here's where things get really interesting. There's a name that hasn't been talked about enough, but internally, the organization is very high on him. Nick Martin, a third-round pick out of Oklahoma State. He barely saw the field as a rookie outside of special teams, but flashes in preseason and raw ability have kept him firmly on the radar. This is not just a developmental player. This is someone the 49ers believe could contribute sooner rather than later. Now take a step back and look at the full picture. 9 linebackers currently on the roster. 9. And in today's NFL, where defenses are more flexible and often lean into nickel packages, you're typically only relying heavily on 2 off-ball linebackers. In San Francisco's case, that's clearly Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, assuming health holds up. So what happens to everyone else? This is where the conversation shifts from depth to opportunity, and possibly to strategy. Because around the league, other teams are watching. They see the numbers, they see the talent, and they understand that when roster cutdowns approach, teams like the 49ers might not be able to keep everyone. That creates leverage, that creates trade conversations, and most importantly, that creates value. According to discussions sparked by insiders like Matt Maiocco, there's a growing belief that San Francisco could explore moving a linebacker, not because they have to, but because it might be the smartest long-term play. And one name stands out when you connect all the dots. A young, fast, aggressive linebacker who just led the team in tackles with 101. A player who started every game last season. Someone who has shown flashes in both coverage and run defense, with 5 pass breakups and 8 tackles for loss. Not perfect, but productive. still developing, still valuable. Now consider this. He's entering the final year of his contract. His cap hit? Around $3.7 million. Extremely affordable for any team looking to add defensive help. This is the kind of player contenders call about. This is the kind of situation where front offices start making calls quietly. Because if the 49ers keep him, they risk losing him for nothing in free agency next year. But if they trade him now, they could get a mid-round draft pick in return, essentially turning surplus depth into future assets. And suddenly, what looked like a strength becomes a strategic decision point. So now I want to hear from you, because this is where things get real for the faithful. If you're in the front office right now, do you keep all this linebacker depth for security? Or do you capitalize on it and make a trade while the value is there? Drop your take in the comments right now, because this decision could shape more than just the defense. It could impact the future of this roster. And here's where the situation takes an even more dramatic turn. Because while the linebacker room is quietly becoming one of the deepest in the NFL, there's another storyline unfolding that could have a far bigger impact on the 2026 season. And it revolves around one of the most important players on this entire roster. Trent Williams. This isn't just a contract discussion anymore. This is a high-stakes standoff that could directly affect the Super Bowl window for the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the reality. The organization made a bold decision by not paying Williams his $10 million roster bonus. That move alone sent a clear message. This front office is being extremely cautious with how they handle a player who is about to turn 38 years old. And because of that decision, his cap hit has now ballooned to around $48 million for the upcoming season. Let that sink in for a moment. A 38-year-old offensive tackle, even one as elite as Trent Williams, carrying that kind of financial weight? That's a massive gamble. But at the same time, letting him go, or even entertaining a trade, could be even riskier. Because when you watch this offense, when you break down what makes it function at an elite level, it all starts with him. His presence isn't just about blocking, it's about stability, leadership, and giving this entire system the ability to operate at full speed. Now, according to reports, there is a potential compromise on the table. The 49ers are reportedly willing to offer around $36 million guaranteed over the next 2 years, with approximately $24 million coming in 2026 alone. And here's the key detail. Even at that number, he would still rank among the top 10 highest-paid offensive linemen in the league. So the question becomes, what's the holdup? From Williams' perspective, it's about security. There's no guaranteed money left on his current deal, and at this stage of his career, every contract matters even more. He believes he still has elite football left in him, and honestly, based on his recent performances, it's hard to argue against that. But from the team's perspective, this is about balancing risk and reward. Do you fully commit to a player nearing 40, even if he's still performing at a high level? Or do you hold your ground, knowing that the closer you get to the season, the less leverage he might have, because contending teams may not want to absorb a massive contract that late in the process? And here's where things get even more intense. There's a belief internally that the 49ers offer Williams the best chance to win a championship right now. That matters. That's leverage. But at the same time, it only takes one team, one contender, one front office willing to push a little harder financially, and suddenly, everything changes. Still, when you look at the full picture, one thing becomes crystal clear. Trading Trent Williams at this stage would be a seismic mistake. It would send shockwaves through the locker room. It would weaken the offensive line instantly. And it would put the entire win-now approach at serious risk. That's why the pressure is building. Because, if this deal doesn't get done, the consequences could be massive. And just when you think the drama stops there, it doesn't. There's another subtle move happening under the radar, one that might not grab headlines, but could turn into a real competition heading into training camp. The punter situation. Yes, special teams is entering the spotlight. The 49ers have already signed Corey Bojorquez, referred to in the report as Weight Man, but the guaranteed money attached to that deal is minimal, around $400,000. In NFL terms, that's nothing. That means flexibility, that means options. And now there's growing interest in Syracuse punter Jack Stonehouse, who recently had a private meeting with the team's special teams coordinator. This isn't sluchiny. This is calculated. When you compare the numbers, it gets even more intriguing. Hang time, a critical metric for punters, tells a story. Stonehouse posted around 4.29 seconds, outperforming last year's punter Thomas Morstead, while also edging out the current option. And that difference? It matters. Because more hang time means better coverage, and better coverage means fewer return yards. It's those small margins that decide games. And there's another wrinkle: style. One is a left-footed punter, the other right-footed. That changes the spin of the ball, the way it travels, and how returners handle it. These are the kinds of details that coaching staffs obsess over. So don't be surprised if this turns into a real battle in camp. And when you zoom out and connect everything, the linebacker depth, the potential for a strategic trade, the Trent Williams contract standoff, and even the punter competition, you start to see a pattern. This isn't sluchinist. This is a front office actively shaping a roster with one goal in mind: maximizing a championship window while carefully managing the future. Every move, every negotiation, every meeting, it's all part of a bigger plan. But now, it's your turn, faithful, because this is where your voice matters. Do you think the 49ers are making the right calls across the board? Should they lock in Trent Williams no matter what, or start thinking long-term? And are these under-the-radar moves signs of a genius strategy, or potential risks? If you're enjoying this kind of deep breakdown and want to stay ahead of every move, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in, because this off-season is far from over, and the biggest surprises might still be coming.